When I move my fingers like this, harmonica sounds come out of them. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for listening to the show, and we are here to talk about one of the newest event spaces here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Bowman Twin Event Center. If you want to have a rave, you could have it there. If you want to have a bar mitzvah, you could have it there. If you want to have just a group of people hanging out in a big concrete room, boom, these people are these people are the people to reach out to. They have told me specifically that anything that you can do in a concrete room, they will have in their space as long as they can hose it out afterwards. So give those people a call. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know you do. You're going to call them at 918-820-2830 or visit the BowmanTwinEventCenter.com and find out how to throw a real party in this town. Right, Huff?
Righto!
Yeah, oh. Enjoy the show.
He's been raking in awards all over Oklahoma. Superhero geeks of the world, get excited because Sterling Gates is sweeping by the table to give us the origin story of Just the Janitor. This Okie native gives us a crash course in comic book collaboration, from the pages of DC comic books to the screens of the WB. You know what kindness and hard work get you? It doesn't rhyme with Nick's Yes Spitlick, I'll tell you that much. Throw a cape on. Sitting with the Sauce, coming to your ears right now. Produced by Screenwriter.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining the table. You are listening to Sitting with the Sosk. I just want to give a shout out to all of you that have been listening to the pod up until this point. We have about 6 episodes, gentlemen, at this point, dropped on the inner tubes, the YouTubes, the Spotifys. I've been getting some really nice comments from y'all. Thank you. Feel free, if you join Substack, to leave comments there. It is supposed to be a sort of interactive website. That I'm learning that from Sash, right, Sash? Yeah. Look at me talking about things that I'm supposed to talk about. Let me introduce you to the two people behind the camera. You've gotten to know them as Huff. He's the man running the cam.
Hello.
That's
Good
right.
afternoon.
And then, good afternoon. It's dark outside. Sash, you are the man behind the cam that does all the switching with the fam in the jam. Talk to me, Sash.
And a bad mama jam.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Sasha makes all the things happen, goes from camera to camera, and makes us sound not like idiots.
What a ham.
Oh, look at that. I am joined at the table. I'm just going to get right into it because we've spent the last weekend together at the Bare Bones, No Frills, No Waste Film Festival in Muskogee, Oklahoma. We drove there. We drove back. We had a good time there just traveling around Muskogee.
Seeing some films.
Talking
to fellow filmmakers, talking to actors, crew.
And Sharon with the dress at the in the awards ceremony. You are a spectacular lady, darling, and you were throwing it all around there on the stage, and it was a delight to see. So at the table right now is Sterling Gates. You might know him from his work as a writer on The Flash, or you might know him as a comic book writer in Supergirl. Or you might know him having seen our film called Just the Janitor, which we now have up there, which I was very excited about.
There you go.
We have our little signed poster.
Nice.
Which we just showed at Muskogee and has showed all over the country at this point. And we had a fantastic time filming it together. And I have to confess that Sterling was my first guest on the show. And we dropped the ball and had a little cable issue that we didn't realize on the first one. So he was nice enough to join us after spending our weekend together in Muskogee to come to the table and sit with me again. Thank you, sir.
I mean, if you're going to mess one up, I'm glad you messed up mine.
Just because you're my friend.
Just because, I'm going to roll back in and do it as many times as you need.
Yeah, man. And I knew that we were going to have more opportunities to show our film together.
Sure.
And spend some time and win potentially another award, which was for Best Ensemble for our short film, Just the Janitor. This man put together a spectacular cast, and we had a spectacular time doing it. But I want to go back to a little bit beforehand, because you are born and bred From here, correct?
Sooner born, sooner bred, and someday soon I'll be sooner dead.
Oh my Lord! Everybody out there is gonna love you to death for that.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I lived here till I was 18 years old. I moved to Oklahoma City for a year. Then I got into the University of Oklahoma, went down to OU, and was in Norman for 6 long college years.
Nice.
I always joke college was the best 6 years of my life.
Yeah, but the first time through, you had mentioned a teacher too from Norman that had sort of thrown, or there was someone in the.
There was a woman named Heidi Mao who was a great mentor to all of us. I went through the art school.
Yeah. What
was then the Fred Jones School of Fine Art, and they've changed the name a couple times since then. And Heidi was our film and TV production mentor.
Yeah.
And she taught us a lot, and she prepared us a lot for, moving to Hollywood. I moved to Hollywood right after college,
right,
and got a job as a PA and started putting in my dues and working on all the things and doing weekend shoots and doing all the things. And Heidi's guidance had really prepared all of us for that in a really nice way.
So you're starting out as PA.
I was
not knowing on anybody.
I was a writer's I was a writer's room PA on a TV show on Spike TV, R.I.P. It's long gone. Called Blade the Series, which was a TV spinoff of the Wesley Snipes movies.
Yeah, dog.
Yeah, David S. Goyer was our creator, and
dude.
On that show, I worked with a guy named Jeff Johns, who comic fans know is a huge comic book legend.
Yeah,
he was one of the consulting producers.
Wow,
and it was awesome. We were canceled almost immediately. It dropped, and it was Spike TV's highest rated show ever. And then the ratings drop off between the pilot and episode 2 was so drastic, they'd canceled us by episode 3 or 4. But we still had, we did 13 episodes. So we had a full season in the can. Amazing cast.
Yeah.
Kirk Sticky Fingers Jones, who was a rapper from Onyx, was playing Blade.
Yeah, I remember this, dude. I was so excited.
Neil Jackson. They're amazing movies. 1998, that was the first Marvel movie ever, really. Besides Howard the Duck, but we don't count Howard the Duck. 1998, Blade dropped, and I was like, we can make superhero stuff now.
Dude,
I've been a comic fan my whole life.
Hannibal King, man.
Oh, yeah. You'd be great. I mean, Ryan Reynolds played him in Blade Trinity, but
I know. But I would shout out because I did enjoy those films. But boy, every time I saw it remounted, I'm like, oh, maybe there's a chance.
I mean, they're trying to do it now again. Apparently, I saw. Anyway, so Blade the series. So we had Joe Wagner, we had Neil Jackson, we had an incredible cast, and we did the work. We made 13 really great episodes. I think they're only available on DVD. They might be streaming somewhere, but if you look them up, they're worth your time. There's some really good stuff in there.
Does that steer you into writing for comic books?
So Jeff Johns called me on a Sunday and said, "Hey, we're canceled. What are you doing after this?" And I was like, "Man, I don't know. I don't have any prospects. I'm 25 years old or whatever." And he's like, "Cool. I'm going to direct a movie, and I need an assistant for this movie. Do you want to come work for me and be my personal assistant?"
Oh, that's such a good.
And so I was his personal assistant for 3.5, 4 years. The movie that he was going to make was called Naughty or Nice. This is all public knowledge, so it's not anything. I'm not telling no tales. It was called Naughty or Nice. It was a Christmas movie made in conjunction with Robot Chicken. We were going to do a stop motion movie with Robot Chicken. Yeah. So we moved in the Robot Chicken offices and got going, and then funding just never came through. We pitched it all over town. Funding never came through, and Jeff was like, "Well, do you want to keep working for me? I'm just going to go back to doing comic book work." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." Yeah. And so one day we were at lunch, and he said, we were talking about comics, and I've been a comic fan my whole life. My parents owned Sooner Books and Comics down on 41st in Peoria. So I literally grew up in a comic store.
Is it still there? Is that store still there?
No, it's a salon now.
Oh, okay.
My dad passed, and my mom just didn't have the passion for it. So,
of course.
And so we were talking about comic books, and he's like, "It's a shame you don't want to write comic books." And I every hair on my body stood up. And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'd fucking love to write comic books." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll train you." And so I call it comic book grad school. Every day I would come in with a new assignment and put it on his desk, and then he would take the script or the treatment or whatever, red pen it, bring it back out and say, "Here's what you did wrong. Here's what you did right. Do more of the stuff that's right. Do less of the stuff that's wrong."
What is that like? I mean, writing the actual comic, because I was such a huge fan of the comic books. So how does, because you have the bubbles that the people are writing, and you have
word balloons, we call them,
the sort of stage directions, kind of, right?
So comic scripting is remarkably similar to movie scripting. offering to an artist. Comic book script is a letter to an artist, and you're telling an artist what you're imagining for the scene, all the way down to the panel, all the way down to people's facial expressions. Or you can be very loose and say, in this panel, Doctor Strange gets mad, and let them do whatever art they want to do. But like your page one, I do full scripting. Not every comic writer does, but your page one, panel one. We start on a wall as Superman bursts through, his eyes red with anger. He screams at the top of his lungs. He's clearly had a bad day. Word balloon, number 1, Superman, General Zod. Word balloon 2, Superman, I'm going to kick the crap out of you. And then, you go page 2, panel 1.
Wow.
So
it's
reverse
you guys
shot.
First, then the artist.
Reversed shot to Zod. Surprised. Zod says Superman. That's how a comic script is laid out.
Yeah.
And you can Google
so
and
you're
search.
Storyboarding. Essentially, you look at it that the comic book becomes a storyboard to a certain extent.
And then you send that script to your artist. They will send thumbnails, which are like loose storyboard versions. And then you check yes, check no, give notes or whatever. And then they'll go off and produce final art, which is a little more clean, easy to read. That art goes from a penciler to an inker generally, who adds line weight, depth, puts in, they call it spotting the blacks, puts in all the blacks on the page. That page goes to a colorist. The colorist does all the colors. That page then goes to a letterer. The letterer puts in all the word balloons and captions. And we don't do thought bubbles much anymore, but now we just do square captions, like Dark Knight. Frank Miller started that as a trend.
Sure.
And then, the editor is the director, and he's getting everybody to do their roles and getting it in on time. And then it goes off to the printer. And then
how long does that process take for each issue?
It varies depending on the size of the issue. When I was doing monthly comics, which were 22-page comics once a month, it's a 6 to 8 week turnaround time, give or take, if you have a fast artist. And I've been very blessed to have rocket fast artists that can just blow through pages and they all look amazing. Really? I've also had experiences where you're doing a longer issue, 45-page issue or 46-page or whatever.
Sure. I remember that.
And it takes 6 months. It just depends. It's always dependent on how fast the artist can move. And they'll usually set a publication date and you're just trying to hit the date. Yeah. Like you're just trying to hit your deadlines to hit the date.
You're trying to hit the film festival cutoff date.
It's all the same.
Similarities.
It's all the same.
Crazy.
It's just slightly different.
Yeah.
So, but no, I love writing comics. To me, it's the most immediate art form because I'm writing a script and within 2 months I have an issue in my hands.
Yeah.
It's a rewarding art form because unlike writing and directing, I'm sending a script and I'm seeing each phase of the process come through and giving notes on each phase of that process.
Yeah.
You send a script to a TV script, you send it out to production, and then you're sitting in your office and you start seeing dailies. But here, like I'm seeing thumbnails, I'm giving notes on thumbnails, I'm giving notes. Like
you really feel like the maestro of the process.
It's collaborative, like on such an intense, intimate level, because there are so few people in the chain. 7 people. Yeah, your constant contact, constant collaboration, and the joy of getting artwork back in your. Again, go back to that Superman scene. I can write Superman crashes through the wall. He's super pissed. Right. I get that piece of artwork back from Eddie Barrows.
Yeah, to see what he then...
And it is mind-blowingly incredible. Right. And you're like, well, holy crap. Like, I wrote 4 lines of description and he made this 11 by 17 drawing of Superman that is just mind-blowingly great. So it's rewarding constantly. Yeah. And that's the endorphin rush of doing comics is so different than filmmaking is a lot of hurry up and wait, right? It's a lot of like
on all ends of it.
Constantly. And then you go into post and then you're waiting till your editor has a free day to go in and then it's just constant. Whereas comics are, to me, such an immediate art form. And not every book is that fast. I mean, you do a graphic novel, it can take 2 years. It varies, but when you're doing monthly comic books like that and the rush, you're rushing and then you get stuff back and it's a different kind of rush.
Oh man,
so,
it kept me. I would just go because early on when I was a kid, I was in Queens, and I would go to my comic book. It became like this thing every week. You'd get this new. It's just such a cool to get a window into that and. I mean, I know it's such a huge industry still today, but it feels so different.
Yes. The comics that you read when you were growing up, the comics that I read when I were growing up, they don't necessarily produce comics for guys like us now. They've moved on to new generations of readers, which, of course, that's every evolution.
And I started with that. I started seeing the Spawns and McFarlane first coming in,
and like I love that. Like that was my jam. I loved it, and so
I was blown away.
It's generational. It's all generational, and so. Then you got guys like Jim Lee that transcend generations, and he's been doing comics for 43 years or whatever. He's been drawing books, and every time he draws a book, it's the biggest thing on the market. Batman Hush 2 issue 1 just came out last week, and it was this giant release. They made TV commercials, and Jim Lee is the tops, man. Yeah. Like we all hope to be half as good as him, and in reality, I can't draw for shit. So,
all right. So comic books then lead us to superhero television.
It's a winding road.
Right.
I was doing comic books. I wrote a lot of Supergirl issues.
Yes.
How
many did you write? If you want me asking.
I don't know.
Oh, that's great.
I don't even count. Like
that's amazing.
It's like it was 3 years of my life. So you figure 3 times 12 plus a couple annuals plus spin-off stuff. I don't know, 50 something, give or take.
Wow.
Someone's going to correct the math on that and put it in the comments. So it was 3 years of my life. It was 2008 to 2011. And I worked almost exclusively with an artist named Jamal Eigel, who is
shout out Jamal Eigel,
one of the best people, one of the best artists, kind soul, works his ass off, draws the most amazing action sequences, like the most amazing character work. You can feed him, going back to the scripting example, you can feed him Supergirl is shocked.
Yeah.
And that's all the description you need. And he'll do this beautiful drawing of Supergirl with this like heart-wrenching, beautiful, like look on her face that she's truly shocked. And I would write scenes just because I wanted to see how he would interpret them. Because again, I'm taking an idea from my head, I'm putting it on paper. An editor is reading that idea, checking off, great, that script is good, sends it to an artist. An artist reads that idea, imagines what I was thinking, what they're seeing reading the script, then they go draw it.
Solitary,
and then send it back to me.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing the images in my head reinterpreted by another human being, and I have no say in it outside of what I write in a script.
And
that, again, the rush of seeing what they're capable of pulling out of a couple lines of description is awesome.
It's sort of a direct connection to the DP in the film.
Yeah.
Right. But yet you're still involved. You're much more involved in that process with the DP.
And when you're scripting comics, you can take it to any level. Like I can say, this scene is lit with a harsh red light. So all shadows should be hard. All shadows that you're drawing should be harsh. Or I can just say, hey, there's an overhead light and it's casting heavy shadows on people's eyes.
Sure.
And then the artist knows that and knows how to draw that.
Yeah.
And again, super collaborative art form. And it's an art form that doesn't get celebrated enough because I think people just see the final product and go, oh, this is easy. Like anybody can make this and anyone can make comics. But in order to collaborate with 6 other people.
Yeah, correctly.
Constant communication and accurate scripting for what you're imagining in your head.
Sure. I mean, it's the same thing the duration or the creative process that goes behind a video game now, seeing that over the years of my life and seeing how that has expanded from, Manhunt to Red Dead 2 or whatever the hell, it's incredible to see what has, but it feels like the preparation for directing film, you're looking at storyboards, you're having an artist rendering of your vision. And did my words translate to the art? There's times to be surprised because you want the artist to excite you and illuminate something you hadn't expressed.
Right.
But also, to see, whoa, like they just nailed what I wanted.
It's the joy of mystery and discovery.
Yeah.
It's a mystery what you're going to get back.
Yeah.
And you're discovering what they've pulled from your words.
Yeah.
In a different way than writing and directing and producing because when I'm directing, I'm at the DP's shoulder watching every shot as it rolls out.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I don't want surprises in post.
No,
I want surprises in performance.
I love that. You weren't a video village yet. You were
No,
in there.
God no.
Yeah.
Like I want to like if I'm on set, I want to be in the mix. Like, and I know Video Village directors, and they're great. Everyone's got a different style. I want to be in the mix, and I'm never going to ask anybody to do stuff that I'm not willing to do myself.
Sure.
So if we're shooting, Just the Janitor, we had a huge fight scene in the opening, and I was literally behind our DP/camera op for this section.
Yeah.
Every step that it was safe. I mean, we're moving so fast and quick, it was,
but you were part of the dance.
Yeah.
Too. You can't just check out and watch a Viz, actually. You're sort of.
I can't. Other people absolutely are super successful doing that.
Sure.
But every director is different, But to go back to your earlier question. So I did comic books for a long time.
That's animation.
In 2012, my friend Matthew Price, shout out Matthew Price, called me and said, we're going to do a superhero movie in Oklahoma. We want to do an independent superhero movie in Oklahoma.
Right.
I've written a script. I would love for you to take a look at it and help us make this what we want it to be.
Right.
And so Matt had characters in a story, and I took what he had written and we re-sculpted it.
Sure.
Found new different things that he didn't see.
Yeah.
And then we handed that over to a director named Kyle Roberts. Yeah. And Kyle put together this huge production with our producers from Just the Janitor, Cherie Green, Wendy Parker. Shout out to them.
Nice, Cherie Green.
Two of the best producers.
Cheers to you, Cherie. I saw you very briefly.
Cheers.
This weekend. It was great to see you, darling.
Cheers to Cherie and
she
Wendy.
She works on many projects that come
constantly.
Through.
She's constantly working, which is so great.
I will hope to have her at the table soon.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
You should come on this show. You should come on this show.
Hear that, Cherie? Come on the show. Come on the show,
but
Cherie. Please,
we made The Post-Human Project, which was, at the time, the only independent superhero movie in the world. And we shot in Oklahoma.
Before the X-Men
Oklahoma
TV show that was
it was right. Marvel was doing their thing, right? This is like right after Avengers, we're shooting. The first Avengers we're shooting. So we're looking at all the stuff they've done.
Yeah.
Iron Man at that point, Captain America. We're looking at that stuff going, well, how do we do this cheaply and affordably in Oklahoma?
Sure.
We put it together. We get it done. We debuted at Dead Center that year, 2014.
Wow.
They awarded us Best Oklahoma Feature Film that year,
great.
which is incredible.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, we got distribution, and so suddenly we're on,
Dream Run.
We're on Xbox, we're on PlayStation Network, we're on like all these things, and it's like, God. I made a superhero movie.
Yeah.
So I'm having lunch with one of my friends in Los Angeles, and I'm telling him about all this stuff, and he goes, I'm going to call you in a couple of weeks. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. See you then. Thanks for buying lunch. And I was driving to LAX to pick up somebody, and he calls and he's like, what are you doing? And I said, driving. And he goes, pull over right now. And I'm like, okay. And so I click, pull over. And he goes, Marvel has just hired me to show run a new Spider-Man cartoon series, and I want you to come write some episodes for me. And I burst into tears. Full on burst into tears.
Spidey was my jam, dog.
Spider-Man
was everybody's jam.
It was my dad's favorite character of all time.
Boy.
My dad's favorite fictional character. And I was like, okay, where do I go? What time do I be there? Like,
yeah, man.
Do I bring my notebook? What do you want me to do? And he goes, show up at the Marvel Animation Studios in Burbank and try to be on time, but definitely be early. And I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so we started on season 1 of Marvel's Spider-Man. I think I did 3 episodes of that show. I want to say it was 3, maybe it was 4. 3 episodes for sure.
Who were your villains?
Rhino. The first one was Rhino.
Nice.
It was Rhino rampaging through the school dance.
Excellent.
The second one.
Did you go Russian with Rhino, or did you go?
Oh yeah. Little teenage, and they're all teenagers. Like the whole gag was everybody's a teenager at Horizon High.
Oh, so it's almost like it was the Spidey and Friends that they have now, where they're all kind of little kids.
Kind of, yeah. Oh, that show's fun too.
Yeah. Quinn's a fan.
First one was Rhino. The second one was Blizzard, who was an Iron Man villain we kind of roped in.
I was going to say, there's no Blizzard in Spider-Man.
But the fun thing about it was I got to give Spider-Man a lightsaber. Like the whole.
Why does Spider-Man have a lightsaber?
Well, and I gave him heat webs too.
Oh,
so
now we're just messing with the doctrine.
Oh yeah, that's the whole point of telling these stories is finding new things to put in the doctrine. Come on.
You gave him heat webs?
There are more Spider-Man stories than there are Sherlock Holmes stories.
Oh, wow. Yeah, of course.
There are more Spider-Man stories than almost any other fictional character on the planet. period.
Yeah,
and so every time you're trying
all
to
the
find something
versions.
fun and fresh and new, and you know, I got a lot of crap online because I had Spider-Man dab, and like everybody was so
Lord.
mad about it. Like there's like somewhere there's a GIF that someone made about Spider-Man never dabs, and then it's the GIF of him dabbing. Like it was 2014, 15. Give me a break. And then the third one was the Rise of Dr. Octopus Part 3, and so
Doc Ock was
it was
my
like
fave,
Doc
yeah.
Ock and the Sinister Six or whatever.
Sinister Six, yeah.
I had a gag in there where. I had a gag in there where it was 7 of them, and he's like, "We're the Sinister 7," and then someone gets blasted off screen. He goes, "We're the Sinister 6."
Dude, I'm gonna watch this with Quinn this freaking weekend.
They're fun. They're really
Well,
fun.
I got her into the Firestorm Iceman one, the Spidey and Friends.
Oh, yeah,
back in the
yeah.
day, and she was like
Yeah.
But now we've gone on to other ones. I'm gonna go in there. 'cause I know that's
Firestar was
someone-
actually created for that cartoon.
Yeah, I
And
know.
Her first comic appearance is
I remember being a kid,
Spider-Man.
like, who the hell is Firestorm, and why is she?
She
teamed
was
up,
made, yeah.
And why is an X-Man teamed up with Spider-Man? It made no sense.
Because fire and ice, you know.
but we're here to not talk about comics.
Anyway,
we'll
we'll talk about
film.
We can
yes.
talk. It
Yeah.
rounds about.
I know.
So
it all comes back.
So I'm doing that show, and two of the producers on that show, Kevin Burke, Doc Wyatt, called me and said, "Hey, what's your next gig?" And I said, "I don't have anything lined up." And they said, "Great, we're working with Robert Kirkman, who created The Walking Dead, to bring one of his other comic books to life. He did a comic book for Image called Super Dinosaur. We loved working with you on Spidey season 1. Come work with us on Super Dino."
It's just what you want.
And so I did 4 episodes of Super Dino.
Yeah.
In the middle of all of
Is that we have to call it Super Dino?
That's the shorthand, yeah.
Okay.
That's
Super Dino, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out.
It's on Amazon Prime, I believe.
Nice.
3D animation done by a Canadian company, just incredible animation, like really great.
Nice.
Again, I write things in that are fun for me and only me, but I did a whole episode where Super Dino and it's about a boy, a young boy and his best friend's a dinosaur. So like Super Dino and the boy get sucked into a video game, and his parents,
As you do.
and his parents are trying to get him out. And one of the codes they use to get him out is the famous Konami code: up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start.
I don't know what that is.
You're old, so I forgive you. You're older, so I forgive you.
I am.
Someone out there heard Konami code and then heard me say it, and they punched the air.
Yes,
So,
they did. Here's to Konami codes, all you people who care about Konami codes.
Up, up, and down, down.
Yep.
Left, right, BA, select, start. I just like
I
putting.
think Sasha wants to talk. Sasha, you want to talk Konami codes? So that's what's going on back there.
So in the middle of Super Dinosaur, I got a phone call from the Supergirl producers. When they created for CBS the Supergirl TV show, my Supergirl comics were the ones that they took with them to pitch the network. And so, if you watch season 1, it is very much pulled from the relationships and situations that we had put her in. They use that to build their show.
Was this your first catching wind of that process happening? That like yours?
I knew well, season 1 had already come out.
Right.
And so I'd been watching it and been a fan and just like, oh my God, they're pulling like, I get in the pilot. Again, I work with Jamal Eigel. In the pilot, one of the cops says, "There's a robbery at the corner of Gates and Eigel." And that was their little tip of the hat to us, acknowledging the work that we had done that had led to the show that they had made,
it's so
which
cool.
was so sweet and super nice.
Yeah, man.
But I got a phone call. They were doing season 2. They had shifted to the CW. Their episode count had expanded. They had a freelance opportunity. And so the showrunner called me and said, "What do you know about Mr. Mixes Pitalik?" And I was like, "Whatever you want to know. I can tell you. Whatever you got."
Next click.
And he goes, "Okay, cool. Be here Monday." And I'm writing Super Dino, and I'm like, and he's like, "Be here Monday." And it was Halloween. And I'm like, okay. So I jam out a script for Super Dino as fast as I can over the weekend. So Monday morning I roll in and everyone's in full costume. It's a writer's room full of writers in full wacky costumes. And I'm in a hoodie and I'm just like, hi everybody. Like, here we are.
Man.
And so the showrunner came in at lunchtime, and the episode before mine had just been wildly noted to death by the network. And so he's like, okay, so we're gonna have to re-break a lot of that stuff. And we're gonna have to find new ways to tell this episode. Sterling, name every kind of kryptonite and what they do. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, there's white, which affects plants. And I just started.
look at
I
you.
just started going,
Yeah.
like all the way down the spectrum, the rainbow spectrum. And as I'm saying all this, I'm looking around, and everyone's just like bewildered. And so I wrap up and I'm like, is this not stuff everybody knows? Like, and the guy sitting next to me is awesome guy named Derek Simon's like, no one knows that stuff. So we're really glad you're here. And I'm like, okay,
that's
great.
so cool,
great.
man.
And so I became the comic guy that they like, I would get an email like, if Lex Luthor had a vault of weapons to fight Superman, what would be in the vault? And I'm just like, oh, okay, well, he's got red sun grenades and he's got like, I would just start going off and I became useful to them.
Yeah.
We did the Mixie episode.
Who played Mixoplick?
Peter Gadio. He's actually a New York guy. I think.
I always thought it was Mixoplick.
So in okay, well, here's a history lesson for you, friend. So in Super Friends, they decided Mixie's Pitalik is too hard for kids to say. So they renamed him Mixoplick.
Mixoplick, right.
So little kids can say it.
Yeah. What was it originally? Don't say that again.
Well, if you want to get really technical.
No, Jesus God, I don't. Please, somebody else.
Mixia's Spitlick. Mixia's Spitlick. Say it like you're a Russian. Mixia's Spitlick. Spitlick. Spitlick.
Oh, my Lord.
Mixia's Spitlick.
Mixia's Spitlick.
Spitlick.
Wow.
You spit and you lick.
Oh, my
Mixia's
God.
Spitlick.
Yeah, sure.
And then you shorten it to Mixie because that's easier to say.
Yeah.
And then you, some versions it's Mixia's Pitlick. No S, no spit,
oh
just
my
pit.
Lord.
It's different. Almost every version that's been on screen has had a different pronunciation.
We are such nerds. We are such little geeks, man.
In order to get him to, do you know how to say to get him to go away? What you do to get him to leave?
I gotta say it. You gotta say it in reverse.
Say it in reverse. Yeah. So how do you say Mixie is Pitlick?
I'm not gonna mess with that now. I've had like a shot, dog.
Let's kill Tipsyism.
Huff, did you read comic books? No, you had no idea about comic books.
Well,
did you?
He was probably playing sports or something useful. I was sitting in the dark reading comics by flashlight on the covers.
Why not be in the dark?
Anyway, so the Supergirl producers, I had a great time on that show, and they really enjoyed. Apparently, they enjoyed working with me because a few months pass, and they called me and said, "Hey, what are you doing next?" It always starts with, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" Like every opportunity,
just hanging.
And every opportunity that I've had in Hollywood has come out of kindness and hard work.
Yeah.
So I work hard for this guy. He calls me and says, "We're hiring writers to work on The Flash. What do you know about The Flash?" And I was like, "Well, The Flash is my other favorite fictional character besides Supergirl. So what do you want to know? Because I can probably tell you down to like issue numbers, or at least roundabout issue numbers." And he's like, and it's great. Show up on Monday. Be ready.
Yeah.
And so I roll in, and it was day 1 of season 4 of The Flash, and it was an all new writers' room. I think there were 12 of us.
I thought that was a really fun stab at that whole universe.
It was
the first time I felt like it had been done like wholesomely, but also still had some sauce when it needed
some edge, some sauce.
Thank you very much. I'll take that and run.
It was my favorite show, and so to be tapped to come work on it in any capacity was such a like heart grew 2 sizes that day.
Oh man, that's so cool.
And I was paired with a writing partner named Thomas Pound, and we shared an office. And every day we would go back up to our office, and we would just look at each other and be like, "We work on The Flash."
Yeah, man.
We work on The Flash. What the fuck? We work on The Flash constantly. Like for the first 6 months, it was just every day was such a joy.
But it's also because the work leads to work begets work.
Yes.
If you come to your job and you bring in everything that you have to it,
yes,
and you succeed. I mean, obviously, we need that to happen as well.
Sure.
But hopefully that is the result of all the hard work that you're bringing to it.
But and sometimes you don't succeed, but all the work you've put in shows that you're willing to do the work, and you get another chance. Not every
your first couple things are canceled. Don't reach the levels that you want, but because of what you brought to the table, people are calling you.
And not every episode's going to be the greatest thing ever. Some episodes you're going to get noted to death by the studio, the network, the showrunner. Some episodes,
or the fans, I'm sure.
Some episodes you're going to turn in the script, and the showrunner is going to start over page 1 rewrite, and it's going to have your name on the cover, and you've written a few sentences.
Right.
I've seen every version of that happen. I've encountered and lived through every version of that happening, and all you can do is be confident that you did what you were trying to do. You did it the best you can, and you gave it your all for each script or each project.
Sure.
But sometimes you turn in a script and the showrunner gets an idea and it completely scotches the whole thing. And they take it and over a weekend rewrite the whole thing. And you roll in Monday morning with you got your lunch and your backpack on and you got your coffee and you sit down to read the script that we've distributed to production with your name on it, and you do not recognize any scenes.
Oh wow!
And that's happened to me too. It happens to all writers.
Yeah.
All television writers will have stories, good and bad, about being rewritten or noted or whatever. And you learn to roll with that because it is a collaborative art form.
Right.
And people that cannot roll with that do not last long. People that throw fits about changes in scripts do not last long.
Yeah.
And so it's a very important lesson that I think a lot of people
have to be fluid.
Absolutely. And the more fluid you
Stephen A.
are,
Smith, I'm fluid. Got to be fluid, or his lists are always fluid. There is a fluidity to this that you have to hold on to.
100%.
Because I can't tell you. I mean, every actor has the story. I know the first time I sat my parents down to watch the Law and Order that I was on, and it was with Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh yeah.
And I had met with him already out in L.A. and he had directed a show that I'd put together a theater thing. So I was so excited to work with him. And then we had sort of worked together on like a scene, and he kind of like had made it be like not that it's going to punch up the scene, but that it was going to feature me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that scene ended up, all of it was cut by the end.
Yeah.
But because of this great experience of having worked with this cat who was just so kind to me on the set, I thought it was going to turn into something. So it doesn't negate the first part of the story, but the results are, it was just a passing shot of my head. And
that's good.
Nobody saw it.
And that's, you learn from that experience of
Yes, you do.
let it go.
Don't tell anybody that you're on something until you have seen it, ladies and gentlemen, because there could be some heavy disappointments in that.
That's an excellent lesson. Yes.
Yeah. But
I mean, I felt bad in Janitor, in Just the Janitor, we had a stunt player and he had a really cool stunt move and we had to cut it. And I felt really guilty about it.
Yeah.
Because he's such a great stunty and it was such a cool thing. But
we had John on the show too.
It was slowing down a sequence that we needed to speed up. And so, the 4 shots of him doing his fight got cut. And I apologized to him. I ran in, he came to the screening and I said, look, man, like you're going to be on screen for a few bits, but like your big thing is gone. I need you to know that before you walk in and expect to see you.
That becomes about pace and this and that, or maybe the camera, because with that stuff, I remember watching, I think the first or second time you guys ran the first part of the fight that I wasn't in, I was away and I was filming it. And everything's out of distance and I'm just there and you guys are trying to, make the distance look like it's people that are hitting. So I'm seeing the distance. But the timing, and I said this to John when he was at the table, the timing was so good that even with this much distance, with a stick going through, the timing was so sweet on these guys that even with that distance, it still looked like he got hit.
And some of that, and that was a huge team making all of that.
Oh man,
work.
And hustling quick.
And Jacob's moving camera really quick to make those hits.
Who has now
land.
been at the table as well.
Kevin Chambers is doing his stunt work,
breaking a stick on his thigh,
and he broke a stick trying to swing it at you. I mean, we were very fortunate on that short to have such a cool stunt team working with us. So shout out to those stunties, Riker and Jory and Jen Rader and James Austin Kerr.
Y'all
and PJ
made us
like,
look incredible.
And John Bielich rolling out. I mean, we were blessed. Like that whole shoot was such a fun shoot, and and it's how we met, and I'm still thankful that people are seeing it, enjoying it, and
So what? All right. So because we're probably going to run out of time at some point.
Oh, how long? Okay.
Who knows?
Okay.
So you roll into set. You have this idea in your thing, and you meet up with Jacob, and you've hired him.
Yeah.
And now, boom, we've. I was going to say we've talked about this, but they don't know about it.
Right.
It was a crazy situation that it all worked out. That I was in New York working on an HBO show playing Hunter. I have this great script here. I think I can make it work, and we end up finding the gap in my schedule.
Yes.
That coincided with where you were starting, and we found this out pretty much a week before.
You called me on Monday to say you would be there on Saturday to shoot. So it was down to the last 5 days.
And I literally left set in New York
on midnight on Friday night.
Hunter, and left that set and got on a plane and got off that plane and went to your set and started doing Janitor.
Ladies and gentlemen, when he was supposed to get on that plane was 4:30 a.m. in Newark. And I said to him before I went to bed that night, we're shooting tomorrow morning. Text me when you get on the plane, because I'm not going to sleep well unless I know that you're on the plane. So I get up at 4:30 to check and make sure he's texting me that he's on his plane. And he had not texted me that he was on his plane. So I did not know if he was going to make his connecting flight in Atlanta, Georgia. So I slept very poorly that day. And then I got a text, I'm in Atlanta, see you soon. And all the stress leaked out of my body. I'm like, okay, well, at least he's going to show up.
Oh, heck
I hope he's not delayed.
No.
And yeah, you know, first day, let's circle back a little bit. Just the Janitor was an idea that I'd had while working on The Flash. I wanted to make a short film about a henchman. Like I love stories about the fringes, man. Like people that you never expect stories to be about.
Yeah.
Like Huff. And because it'd be so fun to do a like camera guy. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway,
man. Everything that I've learned about these two gentlemen is fascinating.
I wanted to do a story about what happens when the hero slams a henchman out of frame. And in a hero's movie, we follow the hero. We don't see that guy again. And then I wanted the camera to just drift over and see this guy with his face broken and bleeding everywhere. And then what happens to that guy?
Yeah.
And then his buddies picking him up and dragging him outside before the cops get there. Like, what happens to them
I loved
after that?
it. I was so taken with the script.
What happens 5 years later when the guy has a bum wrist and his knee is shot out from being a henchman? Like, what is that story like? And is there an opportunity to make that man the hero of a story, though also making him the villain in ways? But it's a fine line, because there's a lot in Janitor about making mistakes and owning up to your mistakes and then trying to be better than your mistakes.
Hell yeah. But
so I had this idea. So let me go. I had this idea, and I wrote it the first year of the pandemic. I wrote a draft of it and I set it aside, and then I picked it back up and I was like, I hate this. I'm gonna start over, page one rewrite. And I started over, and the version that you read is the version that I rewrote and reworked.
Really?
And yeah, because it was something completely the same but different, but just not as well thought out.
Oh wow.
And so I sent it to some of my friends, and they read it and said, "Great, what are you going to do with this?" And I'm like, "Well, I'd like to direct it." And they're like, "Well, how are you going to do that?" I'm like, "Well, I'm going to take a chunk of money that I've saved for side projects like this, and I want to go make it." So I sent it to Cherie, bringing Cherie and Wendy back into the story.
Heck yeah.
I sent it to Cherie. Cherie called me and said, "This is wonderful. We're ready to help you make this. What do you need from us?" And I said, "Well, we're going to have to start with, I need a crew. I'm going to need casting advice. I'm going to need, like, who do you think would be good for X, Y, Z?"
This is how it all begins, ladies and gents. This is how it all begins.
And I came to town and met with a couple cinematographers, and they were lovely people, and they loved the script. And then I met with Jacob Burns. And the first thing Jacob said to me was, "This reminds me a lot of this Bob Odenkirk movie I saw called Nobody." And I said, "That movie is what I was watching when I wrote this. I loved that movie." And he goes, "Cool. Well, if that's what you're going for, I know how to shoot this." And I'd seen Jacob's reel, and Jacob is incredibly talented.
Oh boy, is he. Shout out to Jacob Burns, who's been on the show. I don't know when you're going to listen to all these, but he will be on the show at some point.
Jacob is, for my money, the best cinematographer in the state.
Man.
No offense to the other guys and gals. They're also great, but Jacob, his eye blows my mind. And the way he knows how to motivate a camera movement, when to motivate a camera movement, to me is so incredible. And on top of that, he's a fucking amazing director. Yeah. And you should go see his movies. He's done 3 now? 4 features?
If you count the
3 or
short that
4?
he just did with Shadows.
When Shadows Lay Darkest. Yeah, that's in the festival circuit right now. And then... yeah, he's so talented, and we got on like a house on fire. And then his brother is also Zachary Burns, also a great director. The three of us sat in a coffee shop and just talked about what Janitor could be, should be, what my vision of it was, what they thought they could do to accomplish that. So then we went out to Chris Freihofer, casting director Chris Freihofer, and sent him some sides for your role, the janitor, a guy named Harold. We had found the villain of the piece in an actor named James Austin Kerr, who was a Oklahoma City actor that I knew from Los Angeles, weirdly, small world.
Who was also just in the one with me, but we didn't.
Oh, and he's on a ton of this stuff, and he's really great. They sent out the casting sides, and we got, they call them selects. We got 27 selects. You were the first one, top of the list, first one. And I distinctly remember clicking play, and it was the diner scene, clicking play and just falling in love with your version of that character. And there's a line in there that I wrote as a test. This is me being a dick. I wrote a line as a test to see how different actors would interpret that line.
What was the line?
It's the cleft palate line. In the line, the bad guy is describing a little girl, and he describes, he says, it's this weird split lip thing. And the next line is Harold correcting him and saying cleft palate. You were the only one that said cleft palate in a compassionate way and not a mocking way. And it was like, oh, okay, this guy understands what this character is.
Oh, it's so
this guy understands just one line of dialogue, and it's there as a trap to see if you'll interpret it correctly, and you were the only one to hit it. So then we started talking on Facebook about, okay, how do we make this work? And then you called me and said, my schedule is messy. And I said, okay, great. How do we make that work? And 18 days from our shoot, we've hired crew. We've cast the rest of the roles. We best ensemble cast winner casting, like Jamie Perez playing Miss Boone, Ethan Fletcher Daly, Mia Gonzalez, James Austin Kerr, Bruce Davis as the principal. Like we were super fortunate. Kevin Chambers, Riker, Jen, Jory, all the stunties. We were super blessed with an amazing cast. So getting that recognition last weekend means a lot to me,
dude,
and I'm
because we all got along like aces,
Because you were all so phenomenal, and all of you brought out my vision in such a unique and fun way. It was every day of that shoot was stressful because, as it turns out, directing stuff is stressful. But it was so fun because I got to do scene work with you guys and watch how you guys interpret all this stuff. And
in 5 days, you're doing how many kids were on one day?
Day one was Kids Day. We had 50 kid extras, 2 speaking part kids.
He's got 50 kids on his. This is his first film. He's got 50 kids on the first day. Yeah. He's doing a fight sequence in 5 hours that requires 7 different stunt players, I believe, or more.
It ended up being. It's 6 stunt players. 6 stunt players and the little kid and the guy.
You stacked your deck really.
The thing that I kept coming back to is, if a piano falls on me tomorrow, I want to feel like I directed the thing from my head to the page to the screen. I want it to feel like I've done the thing that I've set out to do. Oh man,
you did in spades. Because when I read it, it's so landed on me. One is a little bit of a shout out to an Unbreakable, because I love that kind of
that was one of our comps, was Unbreakable.
Immersion into this kind of thing, but sort of like the offshoot of the superhero thing, but still within that universe.
It's in the world of I described it a lot as, it's in the world of a superhero story.
Because it's the bad.
It's the henchman. What happens to the henchman when he gets blasted off screen?
But I saw it as like the end of an 80s action film that suddenly turns on a dime into, the thing that I got it from it as well was Nobody, because I was a huge fan of Bob Odenkirk and I'd seen that film. And it became this gritty drama suddenly on a dime in like a third of the way through.
There's another Iron Man 3 done by the wonderful Shane Black.
Sure.
There are henchmen. Iron Man gets captured and he's like John with the henchmen, and they're giving him shit back, and I was like, that's a comp. Like that like henchman, giving henchmen personality, that's such a unique thing that only Shane Black can really get away with.
Yeah.
But like, I thought that was such an interesting, fun take, because at one point Iron Man's gonna blast a guy and the guy's like, I don't even like working here. These guys are all weird. I'm just gonna go. And he sets his Uzi down and runs off. And it's like, okay, let's give hench people personalities and make them fun. Yeah. And so that led me down a lot of different paths.
I loved it. It so resonated with me as an original take on something, but also as I feel like I can do what you were saying. I just want to thank you for giving me flowers. But as an actor, it's so important to make the choices that you make.
Yeah.
And something about that rhythm in that piece made me realize that the cleft palate part is something that, like, he's taking a moment to say, hey, don't be insulting.
Yes.
And this is a guy that's not trying to not be a villain. He isn't a villain anymore.
Yeah, he's moved on.
He's moved on.
It's the story of someone who moves on, and just like Godfather 3, get pulled back in.
Yeah, man.
And that was
so rich to sort of, and also on this end to again explain the other end of that situation of, I'm a cat who just suddenly has this huge opportunity with HBO.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to put my foot down here as I'm an actor that's here, but I didn't know this opportunity was going to come.
Yeah.
So I can't tell HBO what to do. But I do know that the fact remains that within a 2-week schedule for each episode, I'm not going to be there every day, and there will be a 5-day chunk that I can make it work. And I know they're a fan. I know they like my work so far. So as long as if I think I can negotiate this, and it was fairly quickly in the run of it. I think it was 3 episodes in or 2 episodes in.
Yeah, I think you were. I think you told me you were in the third. You were doing the 3rd episode when you left.
It's crazy.
Scheduling is always a nightmare, especially when you've got actors that are working on other productions and crew that are trying to, make their hours, and like scheduling is always tough.
I'm so glad that it worked, and thank you for believing in it and taking the faith.
Thank you. I mean, you took faith in me. Like, I'm a first-time director. I've written a lot of episodes of television. I've produced things. I've never directed in my life. The last thing I directed, which is on my IMDb, just as a point to be humble by, because it reminds me every time I see it of, I directed a zombie film in college 23 years ago.
Wow.
And I put it on my IMDb when I was early in my career, and I keep it on there as a reminder about, this is where you started.
Yeah,
doing
how far have you come?
A 2-hander zombie film in college on sync sound 16mm color stock Kodak, shot with a Bolex that would spit out film out of the sides. That's where I started, and then
no frills, no waste.
No frills, no waste. Bare Bones International Film Fest. But if that's the starting point, then look how far I've come since then.
Yeah,
and it really helps ground me a lot of the time of just it's a really dopey zombie film, and it does not work. Like, we had such bad sound issues, we couldn't get the actors to come back, so I overdubbed the male lead, so it's my voice on his body.
But the gumption that you had to make a film.
Well, it was film school. We had to. You want a grade.
The table is about the successes and the failures that you have.
Always.
And the failures lead you to the successes. And I've had many failures along the way that have led me to this place of trying to share and give what I can back to the industry, as you have, as you continue to do so.
Yoda said it best. The greatest teacher failure is.
Oh, man. That's a dope way to end the episode, my friend.
We're done.
Yeah, we're done. I want to finish my last little bit of shot.
Yeah,
You want to get a little bit in there for you?
I'll finish this out with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me at the table with, this has been Sterling Gates. He is a gentleman. He is a scholar. He is an artist. He is a fabulous person to collaborate with.
Thank you.
And we continue to do so. Another thing that we got this weekend was a screenplay that we read called The Christmas Sub, which is something that I hope that we will be getting off the ground at some point this year.
I want to, just for the audience's sake.
Come on now.
I've written a script called The Christmas Sub.
Yes.
I'm going to direct it. PJ's going to star. As we drove, we came up with an idea for something for me to write and for PJ to star in and direct himself. So there might be another project coming between the two of us. We might have 2 projects in the next year.
What was great, I just want to put this out there, and this is not in direct relation to the Sandbox, but something that happened in the Sandbox, something that I've learned along the way through Naked Angels, is to give a prompt out every now and then to writers. Yeah. So we were coming along to the Christmas holidays. I put this out, and I put this out to Sterling as well. Hey, if you have a Christmas idea. And he came up with this idea of some stoner loser kind of putting his sister's daughter to bed.
Niece. They call them nieces.
And who shows up that Christmas night but the Easter Bunny subbing in for Santa Claus, who's got a bad case of clubfoot? And they have themselves a little chit chat, and it
gets deep. It's a lot about what life is like when you're subbing in for someone else.
Yeah.
Like what are the expectations when you're not the guy, you're the number two trying to do what number one can do.
Yeah.
What's that like? You know, and it gets pretty deep, and we talk. The characters talk about life and trying to figure out.
But it's very funny, and it's very warm.
It's
and
sweet.
has a
Yeah, I was
wonderful
trying to
turn.
write, and honestly, PJ, I was trying to write something that would be fun for you to read at the Sandbox with a crowd.
Yeah.
And so I don't write comedy naturally. Like I write funny things in serious situations.
Sure.
But I wanted to write a straight comedy for you.
Yeah. You succeeded.
Thank you. Now we need to make it. And we're looking for producers. If anyone would like to come on board,
Yeah.
you can reach us at Sitting with the Sosk.
You can't reach us anymore.
917 44.
No. The operators are still. Hold on a second. You can call us at.
Where did that phone come
You can
from?
call us at Sitting with the Sosk.
Where did you
Wait.
get that phone? Ladies and
Call you
gentlemen,
back.
thank you for joining us on this episode of Sit with the Sosk. He's PJ Sosko. I'm Sterling Gates.
And this has been Sitting with the Sosk. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Huff. Thank you, Sosh.
Oh, Sosh Huff. Big round of applause
Yeah.
for them. Like, applause.
Yeah, baby. Using the props.
He gave me a prop. What a mistake.
One more shout out to Sharon. Thank you for having this wonderful festival.
Oh, yeah.
For how many years? And how
26
many
years. 26 years they've been doing Bare Bones Film
And
Festival.
I have to say, it sounds
So-
like many filmmakers got their chance from Sharon, much like
Yeah.
putting the zombie film that you put together. Sharon gave them a chance to sort of have their film screened in front of people and continues to do it today. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for attending. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next time. This has been PJ Sosko, Sitting with the Sosk. We're out, y'all. Peace.